Alright, hello everybody. This is going to be a continuation of the video I posted yesterday about 666 and how it doesn't make any sense to be the only, or in this case we can also call it 6, since basically the logic of the Bible lore is saying that if 666 is the most evil number, it's not really 666, it's just the number itself, 6 3 times is basically what it is. Well, basically it's trying to say that the most evil single digit number is 6, but when you summon three of the most evil number at once, it's a lot more evil at once than just like one single digit 6 at once, is what it's trying to say. So basically the only evil number according to the Bible is 6. Now you can like do multiple 6s at once, and then you have more evil at once, is what it's trying to say. But to continue going off of what I was saying in that video yesterday, is there something else critical? And by the way, what I'm going to say is basically something that's implied by what I said yesterday in the previous video. It's implied by it, but I didn't quite explain it the best I could. So here's what it is. It's basically just the fact that 666 is actually really is a it doesn't change what I said yesterday about 666. The Bible does try to say that 6 isn't 7, 7 isn't 6, 6 isn't 5, 5 isn't 6. No two numbers are the same thing, is what it tries to. Well, it tries. I mean, look, we all understand that two different numbers can be the same thing because they're both able to be categorized as numbers. So they're both numbers, but are they the same number? No. So in some ways, 6 and 7, for example, are not the same thing, and in other ways they are the same thing. They're the same thing in that they're both numbers. They're both a number, but they're different. At the same time, they're also different because they are different quantities. So 7 is a higher quantity than 6, even though they're both numbers. So 7 is just a variation of 6, and 6 is just a variation of 7, basically. But the problem is, there's still a problem with this, and that's that basically, none of this really goes over the fact that what I'm saying is still true. It's that basically 6, even though it's a variation of 7, the Bible still tries to say that 6 isn't 7. That 7 is good. 6 is evil. It tries to say that the difference between 7 and 6 makes it so that 6 is not 7. It's a big enough difference so that 6 isn't 7. Even though they're the same thing in some ways, the ways in which they're different is enough for it to be that 6 is not 7, because 7 is good and 6 is evil. So by saying that, it's basically saying that 6 isn't 7, 7 is good, 6 is evil, and the Bible tries to say that something that's evil is never good, and something that is good is never evil. So the Bible is basically then also saying another thing here, which is that it's trying to tell us that 7 is good, and that 7 is never the number of evil, and that 6 is the number of evil and is never the number of good. So, and as I pointed out in my previous video, it's very possible for there to be a quantity in the concentration of 6. There could be like an amount of 6 of something good by real world standards and by the Bible standards. Yet the Bible overlooks that detail, ironically. I gave examples in the previous video. The other thing, of course, being that there can be a quantity of 7 evil things in the Bible lore, teachings, and stories. There's examples of 7 things that were evil in many passages. And in real life, which the Bible, and then there's real life instances that the Bible does reference that point to that being the case as well. There's real life examples of 7 things coming in quantities of 7 or packages of 7 that are evil, 7 evil things at once. And there is definitely actual real world examples that the Bible even references of what I just said anyway. So the Bible's attempt to make sense of 6 being only evil, the only evil number, and in doing so also trying to say that 6 can't be a good number makes no sense by logic or math or elementary school math. This is just pre-K math. Like, it's pretty obvious that the authors of the Bible 1 minute want to reference elementary school math and say that it's 100% valid, but then want to use anti-logic here about it. But many people overlook it. I mean, come on, how much more obvious can this get? Okay, 6, as I said yesterday, 6 can very easily be, there can easily be a quantity of 6 of something terribly evil, not just by the Bible standards of what's evil, but other standards as well, way outside of the range of the scope of the Bible anyway. And same thing with 7. So there can be 7 evil things, there can be 6 good things, and it's like I said, the Bible has no explanation for that. So when you have the hierarchy pyramid, how can you explain 7? It says 7 is at the top, says 7 is the number of Jesus, and 6 is the number of the devil, is at the very bottom of the pyramid, is the least powerful, the most powerful is at the top, where it's 7. It just doesn't make any sense because mathematically, as I showed in the other video, you can't have the gap between 7 and 6 be that big. It's not how numbers work, because when you add 1 to 1, you get 2. So numbers have to go in their original chronological order for math to make any sense. And for that reason, it's impossible to have an actual accurate hierarchy where 7 is at the top and 6 is all the way at the bottom. That's not how math works, basically. And the numbers they're using for 7 and 6 in the Bible is actually modeled after the original chronological order of numbers 1 to 9. And we all know that 6 is right before 7, not at the bottom of the pyramid, and then 7 at the top. The Bible even admits that the 6th day of creation was right before the 7th day. And yet, despite that, it still tries to say that that chronological order of 6 and 7 doesn't apply to the logic of hierarchy when you test it out on this diagram, when it tries to say that 6 is the opposite of 7. When 6 can't be the opposite of 7 because 6 comes right before 7. In fact, 6 is one of the numbers it's the most similar number to 7 anyway, other than 8, which comes right after 7. So it makes no sense from the original basic set of numbers 1 to 9, the basic number system in the world. You would never have 7 be opposite 6. It wouldn't make any sense. Not even by the logic of there being a 6th day of creation and a 7th day of creation, and not by a bunch of other chronological events within the Bible that use weekdays, months, minutes, seconds, so on and so forth. It contradicts all of it. That's thousands, if not trillions upon trillions of contradictions in the Bible that you could be pointed out where it's trying to say that those don't count to what I just said, even though they do. As if I haven't pointed out trillions of contradictions in the Bible and other religions anyway on this channel. Now you have those two. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say trillions. I mean, I've actually pointed out trillions of contradictions on this channel because there's so many micro contradictions aside from the macro contradictions that are easy to notice or point out. With sometimes you can just get one contradiction and it just points out 1,000 micro ones and then adds up quick. So of course it depends how you define the word contradiction. My point still stands. Now the other thing I noticed is really interesting is I took this theory of the video I posted yesterday, I took it to social media, I took it to Facebook, and some people think what I said there makes sense. However, one of the things that made me realize is there's another interesting problem. There's another interesting point that I could add to this, and that's the fact that basically it's impossible for the writers of the Bible to explain how they say that from 1 to 9 you get somewhere along the line every single number from 1 to 9 happens to be an evil number. According to Revelations, there's several numbers in the media that you see on your that will be seen in the end times on the television screen or on some piece of technology. All those numbers will be evil numbers because they'll be the numbers that are authorized by the devil and the Antichrist, it says, during the tribulation. Well, the funny thing is, if you look at the numbers on the screen, like let's say you had like your radio, right? Portable radio, a house radio. Let's say you had a clock. Let's say you had a car radio, alarm clock, anything. Any of those serve as good examples. Let's just say it's it's a car radio, and you're changing the channel as you're listening to music when you're driving during the tribulation. Or even if it's not the tribulation, even if it's pre-tribulation, according to the Bible, if it was pre-tribulation and you were driving your car, you had your car radio on, you're changing the channel, and you see the numbers changing as you change the channel. It's basically saying those numbers that you're seeing on the screen, it's trying to tell you something. It's trying to tell you those numbers themselves are actually evil numbers because they're authorized, according to the Bible, they're authorized by the Antichrist. Talked about in Revelations. So, which basically is really quite ironic because, as I pointed out earlier, that doesn't make any sense because the Bible says number 7 is not evil. And the Bible says every number that isn't number 6, every single number that is not number 6 is good. And so basically it's saying 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 8, and 9 are all good numbers, is what the Bible is trying to say. And 6 is the only evil number. And if it's trying to say that, but then it tries to say, then it somehow tries to say the opposite. Then tries to say that in the Revelations tries to say that in the last days all these numbers will be of an evil nature because they'll be authorized by Satan and the Antichrist. Like the numbers you see on the television screen are used for evil deeds. And the numbers that people are using and interacting with will be for evil deeds in the last days. They'll just be random everyday numbers on everyday random contraptions in everyday ordinary life. But it says those are all evil numbers. But not all of them will be 6. Not all of those numbers will be 6. All of those numbers would be like, and the Bible doesn't even deny this. It doesn't even deny the fact that they are not all 6. It doesn't say that they're all just 6 and people are like hallucinating on some kind of drugs or something. Like, no, it's actually because you would never get something. According to the Bible lore, people wouldn't be hallucinating what numbers are on what they're looking at unless it was like during the tribulation and they had the mark of the beast, and like they were under extreme mind control from the Antichrist. No, because it says that even pre-tribulation, it says there's nothing like. So it says during pre-tribulation, there's nothing like that, and so they really, what the numbers they're seeing pre-tribulation really are what they actually are, and countless of them are everyday random numbers everywhere, not all of which are 6. So, and it says all those are evil. So it makes no sense. It makes no sense. That's impossible. So that proves that that's another proof that the Bible is fraudulent material. And I have pointed that out before. I've pointed out that every number is evil anyway in my first video about the spiritual hierarchy of all things. Now I have deleted that video. I posted a very long time ago on this channel. I've deleted it since then. But if my viewers may recall, I did mention that by real life standards, everyday numbers would be, everyday random ordinary numbers would all be evil, because they'd be used for evil deeds anyway, even by the Bible standards, even if the Bible doesn't admit it. It doesn't admit it in every passage, but it might admit it in some passages. So Bible is just stupid, and that proves it. Okay, so there's two main things to address here. There's two main things that I brought up here that Christians have no answer for, and that with special pleading I ask them to answer, like time and time again. Is first question being, please, how do you explain, Christians, that that there's been shown there being quantities of 7 being evil in Bible passages, and quantities of 6 being shown as good in Bible passages, and not just in the Bible passages, but even outside of it, whether the Bible references those or not. And the second one being, of course, how do you explain how the Bible tries to say that talks about how every single number in the last days will be, every single number during the last days will be an evil number, and not all of them are 6, which contradicts the Bible's teaching about 666 being what I've described it as being. What I've proven it's trying to say is just like 666, the only evil, or that 6 is the only true evil number. That every other number is of good. The other thing is, if every other number is of good, like it's trying to truly say, then why does the Bible say that it's so hard to have good exist in the world? And it's like that there's not much good in the world. Well, there's not much good in the world, and why is there so many good numbers in the world? Like, if every number aside from 6 is good, then why are there so many good numbers in the world? That's a lot more good in the world than the Bible is saying there. So those are my points for why the Bible is fraudulent material, as a continuation of my last video, with even more points, relevant points. Hope you enjoyed. Please like, share, subscribe. Bye for now.